If the media covered up and lied about the motives behind the Charlie Kirk killer, and he's a civilian, he's just a schmo like you and I. He's not the president. He's not a military leader. He was a civilian. And if they lied about him, how much more would they lie about us? Is there anything we can do about a giant public lie and still maintain free speech? Is the question. Are you allowed to lie? Are you allowed to mass lie in your free speech rights? That's my question. I don't know the answer. I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Should it remain legal to lie? Now, we're going through all of the country's firings today and all the companies that they're pretending to fire their employees, but really they're lying. They're putting them on suspension until we don't pay attention anymore. And then they'll keep the leftists who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. That is, you and I being assassinated is what they celebrate. And they're going to keep them in their employ. So here's Microsoft, their statement, because many of their employees were making these statements about Charlie Kirk. Microsoft says, we're aware. So stop telling us, guys. We're aware of the views expressed by a small subset. Small, not many, tiny, small, we swear. A small subset of our employees regarding recent events. Wait, just recent events or one specific event of Charlie Kirk being martyred or assassinated by evil? Regarding recent events, we take matters like this very seriously. No, you don't. And we are currently reviewing each individual situation. I don't even believe that. I think they're dragging their feet on it, because some of them are going to be major executives at Microsoft that they don't want to fire. And frankly, Microsoft agrees with their sentiment. They just aren't dumb enough to go public with dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave as some of their bigger-mouthed people who are used to being unleashed by Biden and leftist media to provide cover and encourage it for all these years. Comments celebrating violence against anyone. No, I'm talking about specifically Charlie Kirk, though. Don't give me this anyone stuff. Comments celebrating violence against anyone. Well, your employees sure didn't know this was your policy when they did it, did they? Bill Gates. Comments celebrating violence against anyone are unacceptable and do not align with our values. Yes, they do. And then because you're not going to fire them and you're not going to announce it. And if they did fire the amount of employees at Microsoft that publicly posted and danced on Charlie Kirk's grave, they would probably have to mass fire 5,000 people, I would bet. In fact, if they looked a little harder and looked through their employee emails and stuff like that, it would be much more. Here's more news on the actual shooter. This is very interesting to me because I think I'm going to have a take that you didn't expect. Nick Sorter. Breaking: Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson's roommate, has been identified as 22-year-old Lance Twiggs. That's the trans person, Lance Twiggs, amid reports that Robinson was living with his transgender partner, per the Daily Mail. Now, the Tyler Robinson's families in this transgender, the families still refuse to deny, that is, that transgenderism was a motivating factor in the killing. Okay, that's the question. And I don't think it's a big deal. I'm only saying that the cover-up this has nothing to do with trans. Well, Tyler Robinson's dad doesn't say that. His mom doesn't say that. The families of Charlie Kirk don't say that. Normal people in the public don't say that. They say trans shooting probably does have something to do with it. You know, the actual question asked of Charlie Kirk was by someone in the audience. Some are saying he could be involved to trigger the shooting. Said, what about, trans people? And suddenly Charlie gets shot. So they set the whole media event. What I want to say in defense of this trans person, this is Lance Twiggs, who is also dressed like a furry. Furry is another sexual deviant thing. I came from comic books and I would make fun of furries. And they are also a radical, hyper-depressed, emotional, sexually deviant group. That is, I don't even want to get into it, but it has to do with animals, okay? Anything the Bible forbids, people are into, and now they have to put it in your face. And if you judge it, they call you a prude or evil. So this person's wearing the animal jammies. Now, the take that I'm going to do that you may not know is I think Lance Twiggs is actually a kind of a hero, because this trans person who was the partner of the shooter, this trans person went to the FBI and shared his messages and texts with Tyler Robinson to show the FBI that Tyler was the shooter. And the FBI said that it was greatly helpful in catching Tyler Robinson. So Tyler Robinson's dad arrested him and cuffed him, and the partner here. So I'm only saying being trans, this person being a furry trans, is not the same thing as being a shooter, because this trans worked against hiding the shooter. Does that make sense? That is, transism and furryism could have motivated Tyler Robinson to shoot Charlie Kirk, but it does not mean this individual performed or was complicit in the killing. We'll check into their things. I just want to be very careful not to make too big of a giant blanket statement, and that this is a trans furry who worked with the FBI. Even if they might have been, I don't know if they've been fomenting it or what. They'll go through all the messages and let you know that there's the trans. I don't want to do this. There's too dark. Okay. Let's get back to scumbags at Washington Post. This is Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, how do you feel about your terrible newspaper? Listen to how this is how the media is covering it up, obfuscating. They don't want facts to get out. Here's the Washington Post. Within 24 hours of Charlie Kirk's killing, an assistant dean at Tennessee College, a communications staffer for an NFL team, a next-door employee in Milwaukee, and the co-owner of a Cincinnati barbecue restaurant were fired after posting about it. Okay? So now the news is all these people who danced on Charlie's grave, right, got fired. But they didn't get specific here. They named all these things and said they were fired for posting about it. Well, I posted about it and I didn't get fired because I wasn't dancing on his grave and celebrating his death. See, Washington Post, they're removing an important part of media, of the truth that is actually the reason why they were fired. Not because they posted about Charlie Kirk's death, but because they celebrated his assassination and murder. Got it? Now, the Washington Post, a former newspaper, you're not as good at your job as I am, a barely literate comic book artist. I report the news accurately. You're a propagandist, and you get paid millions of dollars. I don't. I'm doing your job. Here's Right Angle News Network breaking. Clemson University is now backtracking after initially refusing to fire employees who mocked Charlie Kirk's murder, following threats to withdraw millions in funding from the institution. So this institution, whatever Clemson University is, Clemson University unequivocally condemns any and all expression that endorses, glorifies, or celebrates political violence. Yeah, you condemn it, but you don't fire it. Here's the other statement. Clemson University continues to thoroughly review the inappropriate social media content posted by employees in response to the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk. Not just inappropriate, celebratory. So this is how the left is getting away with it. They put all these people under investigation and carefully make sure that they really crossed a line before they get fired. That's how this works. Wait, there's more. NBC News, I think, is the worst. This is NBC News. I absolutely despise them. NBC News posted, following the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk this week, educators, so teachers across the country, have found themselves facing swift termination or potential discipline after sharing opinions on social media about the killing. Guys, did teachers lose their jobs or face potential discipline for sharing opinions on social media? Because I shared opinions on social media. No, this again is a lie. NBC News, you have one job, not sharing opinions, for sharing opinions that celebrated the murder of a civilian, Charlie Kirk. Not sharing opinions. I share opinions. And saying sharing opinions was why they got fired is like if someone went to work and just started screaming the N-word, okay, to their saying N-word, N-word, over and over again to on social media, okay? And then your Nike or your NBC News, and you go and you fire, you'd fire them. And the reason they gave was not that they said the N-word at work, but they said this person got fired or investigated for sharing an emotional outburst online. Does emotional outburst really state why, or is it really illegal or bad or out of touch to have emotional outbursts? Or is not the cause because you shouted the N-word over and over again on social media? See, that's what I mean. They're burying the real cause. The media, run by Democrats, they don't want you to know. Oh, here's a brilliant little girl. Woohoo, the video got President Trump to repost. Are you ready for this? This is a girl named Ellie. Brilliant girl, very articulate. How are you smarter than me, little girl? Watch this.
His administration. If you stay to watch the video, please tag him down below, share, and repost so we can try to get this to him as quickly as possible and hope that he can do something with this.
So she asked all of social media to repost this and tag Trump in it. And then Trump reposted it to show that he got the message.
President Trump, as a supporter who voted for you 3 times, I am hoping and praying that you will revisit what Barack Obama and Joe Biden got rid of back in 2013, which is the Smith-Mundt Act, which held news corporations accountable for lying to the American people and spreading propaganda instead of truth. I think instead of bringing it back as a Smith-Mundt Act, you name it the Charlie Kirk Act, you make it a law, and you make it damn near impossible for these people to continue to lie to the American public, which has brought chaos, hatred, division, and anarchy all across this country. Fines out the ass, which will damn near bankrupt their company should they lie to the American people ever again. They can have their opinions, that's fine. They need to state that it is their opinion and that it is not a fact. Because of their constant lies, a man lost his life over it. Because of the constant hateful rhetoric of calling him a fascist and a Nazi and a white supremacist and a bigot, the same thing that they called you, this man is dead. I think this would be a great legacy for him to have a law named after him to force journalists to finally start telling the truth and having the integrity that they have lacked for over a decade.
And even forget the integrity, it will save lives. It could save the next right-wing victim set up by the left, by the media, the next person they attack. It could be preventative. I'm with this gal. I like the way she thinks. Good girl, good little activist. She got it up to Trump.
I hope that this gets to you. I hope that you think about it and that you pass it into law, because we are on a dangerous path right now with the constant lies and the propaganda. And that doesn't end just at news journalists. It needs to go to content creators who consistently spread lies and propaganda and half-truths across the internet. This needs to end, and people need to start being held accountable for baseless claims over absolute abysmal things. It needs to end.
Yeah, it does need to end. I'm always a free speech advocate, so I'm a little worried because if the Democrats get this, and they can nail misinformation or lies, you already know what they'll do with it, right? You got it? That's my fear. So be careful what you wish for, guys. Democrat ever wins again, man, we are going to jail. I'm telling you. Thank God. God spared me by Trump winning. He spared me as an artist. He spared me as a family man, as a YouTuber, as someone in public who can speak, who wants to witness to people in public. All that would be illegal if Kamala Harris won. Wait, there's more. This is Michael Malice again. How is NBC? This is how NBC is framing things. The corporate press is the enemy of the people. Another NBC. What a hack. I despise lies. I despise power too, because NBC has power. They're like, we're $1 billion corporation and we're just going to lie all day. Here's what they said. This is the big headline. Toxic rhetoric surges after Kirk killing. That's me. Toxic rhetoric, right? Kirk killing. How about Kirk murder? How about after a pro-life Christian Republican, the leader of a movement, 31 years old, father of 2 or 3, husband of 1, murdered, martyred, and assassinated. Toxic rhetoric? Is that like toxic masculinity? How dare you people? They're trying to peer pressure me out of being emotional. Oh, I'm emotional. I'm not toxic. You guys are toxic. NBC is murderously toxic. Kirk was known for sharing extreme. No, they weren't extreme. They're mainstream, you liars. Kirk was known for sharing extreme and provocative positions. They're not provocative. They're mainstream. It's what probably 50 or 60% of Americans believed, and probably what most of man's history has believed for the last 200 years. It's not provocative. You made it provocative because you gaslit everyone into thinking it was Nazism to say that a man can't have a baby. His killing has sparked messages threatening violence. His killing His murder has sparked messages. Now, I have no doubt that there are people threatening violence. And I always tell my audience, we don't do that. And I'd like to end this weekend on a little piece of humor. I don't mean anything by it. Just a friend of mine sent it to me and I screamed laughing. I'm going to have to offer this with no commentary, okay?
Do you believe then that men can become pregnant and have abortions?
Yes.
Impossible, my dear lady. That's absurd. Unthinkable.
Why?
Because that pipe doesn't go to the marshmallow room, it goes to the fudge room.
I have no comment, but I'm Doug in Exile. Shout out to the Quad Club. Subscribe.